I rang the bell and waited, expecting my best friend to answer. Instead, the door creaked open and there she was, his mom. It had been a while since I'd seen her, but something about her presence instantly made me feel off balance. She smiled, warm but unreadable, and motioned me in. Her robe hung casually, her tone familiar, but I noticed the way her eyes lingered. I told her I was here to hang out with her son. She said he wasn't home yet, stuck in traffic, but I could wait inside. I hesitated for a second before stepping in. We walked toward the living room, and I could feel the air shift, like something invisible between us had changed. She asked about college, my plans, how life had been. I answered, trying to keep it casual, but her questions kept digging deeper. Not in a nosy way, more like she was interested, maybe even invested. Her gaze didn't wander the way adults usually look past you. It was direct, steady, almost inviting. She laughed at something I said and touched my arm gently. I froze a little, unsure if I imagined it. She didn't pull away quickly. She poured herself a drink and offered me one too. I declined but thanked her. "Still the polite one," she said with a smirk. Her tone had a teasing edge and suddenly, it felt like we weren't just chatting. She asked if I remembered the summers when we all used to hang by the pool, if I still swam, if I still worked out. I nodded, awkwardly trying not to overthink it. She raised a brow, gave a once-over and said, "Well, it shows." I shifted in my seat, suddenly very aware of how I was sitting, how close she was. Her voice dropped slightly as she told me she always liked how respectful I was, that it was rare. I didn't know what to say, so I just smiled, though my throat felt tight. My phone buzzed. A message from my friend. "Stuck at least 2 more hours." I told her. She looked at me and said, "Guess it's just you and me." Then silence. But not the awkward kind. The kind that waits to see if someone will cross it. I offered to leave, but she waved it off. "Don't be silly," she said. "I enjoy the company." There was something in her eyes, a softness, but also a challenge. I didn't know what game we were in, but I could feel the rules bending. She got up to adjust the blinds, and as light spilled differently into the room, her silhouette caught my eye, and held it longer than I meant it to. She turned and caught me looking. "No jajment, noscham." Just a quiet smile. I looked away quickly, heart starting to thump harder. She sat back down, this time a little closer. She didn't say anything more, just looked at me with a kind of calm that made me forget everything else. She handed me a glass without asking this time. I took it. Her fingers brushed mine longer than necessary. The drink burned a little, but I didn't mind. We sat in silence for a moment before she asked if I was seeing anyone. I told her not really. She tilted her head and said, "Someone like you? That's hard to believe." I laughed it off, but she didn't. She was watching me again like I was more than just her son's friend. I felt seen in a way I wasn't used to. She leaned back, crossing her legs slowly, and mentioned how fast I'd grown up. "Not that little boy running around the yard anymore," she said. I responded with a half smile, trying to keep things from drifting further into whatever this was becoming. But the way she looked at me made it harder to stay grounded. She asked about my plans after graduation. I started answering, but she interrupted, said she always admired how focused I was, then added, "There's something different about you now. You carry yourself differently." She reached for her drink and her hand brushed my thigh. Casual, not accidental, but not overly bold. She didn't apologize. Just let the touch sit there for a second before pulling away. My breath caught, but I pretended not to react. She noticed. "You're nervous," she said quietly. "I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable." I shook my head, said I was fine. But she kept her eyes on me, searching, measuring. Then she said, "You're allowed to be curious." That hit harder than it should have. She wasn't just playing around. She knew exactly what she was doing. I asked if her husband was home often. She laughed short, cold. "He's always somewhere else. Physically and otherwise." Her voice was flat but carried weight. I didn't push. She looked down, then back at me, softer now. "You ever feel like you're always doing what you're supposed to? Following every rule, being the good one?" I nodded without speaking. She smiled again, not in amusement, but in recognition. Sometimes I wonder what it'd feel like to stop. I didn't respond. The silence wrapped around us like a secret. She leaned in, lowered her voice to almost a whisper. You ever wonder what it'd be like if something just happened? No plan. Just a moment that couldn't be undone. I swallowed hard. My hand was on the armrest, and hers found its slowly, fingers slipping over mine. I didn't move. Neither did she. Her eyes never left mine, and I felt the room shrink, closing in on just the space between us. She leaned in a little more and said, I notice how you look at me. I always have. The line had been crossed, not by accident, not in passing. She wasn't playing anymore. Her hand moved first, slipping from mine to the side of my face, warm and deliberate. I didn't stop her. I couldn't. She leaned in and kissed me, soft, slow, with no hesitation. I froze for half a breath, then kissed her back. It wasn't clumsy or rushed. It was controlled, like she'd already decided how far this would go. Her fingers slid behind my neck, pulling me closer as her lips moved with experience and confidence I'd never felt before. Every nerve lit up. I wasn't thinking. I was only reacting, falling into something bigger than the guilt trying to scream at the back of my mind. She guided my hand to her waist. I didn't resist. I let it stay there, feel her body pressed against mine. Her breath quickened, and so did mine. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. The silence carried everything unspoken. Every wrong idea we were now acting out without pause. Her mouth traced along my jaw, then stopped just beside my ear. Are you sure? She whispered. I didn't answer with words, just pulled her tighter. That was enough for her. Every touch after that was stripped of pretense. She moved with certainty, and I followed. My body felt like it didn't belong to me, just responding, giving in, allowing her to lead. She didn't hesitate, didn't stumble. It was slow and hot, layered in tension we'd ignored until now. Her breath trembled slightly when I kissed her neck. Her nails grazed my shoulder, and I heard her whisper my name for the first time, quietly, like a confession. We moved together like we'd done this before, like this wasn't wrong, like it wasn't betrayal. She pressed against me, wrapped herself around me, and I lost track of everything outside that room. Her voice was the only thing I could hear. Every breath, every soft moan, every time she whispered encouragement. It wasn't about dominance. It was about surrender, hers and mine. Time didn't feel real. All I could focus on was how close we were. How natural it felt despite everything screaming that it shouldn't. The way she touched me wasn't desperate. It was deliberate. She wanted this. She wanted me. And I gave myself to it.
No hesitaste.
No pulling back. Every line had already blurred. After she rested her head against me, her hand stayed on my chest. I felt her heartbeat. Neither of us spoke for a while. My mind was blank. Not from shame, not yet. Just overwhelmed. Her fingers traced small circles on my skin, like she didn't want the silence to feel like regret. She eventually whispered, You okay? I nodded because I was. Not proud, but not broken either. Just changed. Something had been crossed, and I wasn't sure if I'd find a way back, or if I even wanted to.